Hey everyone, this is Alex Stryzak with my Week 2 presentation for MPA 585, and we're going to be talking about market failures. So an introduction to what I'm going to talk about in this lecture, we're going to look at what the good is, whether it's a public or private good, what the type of market failure that comes from this, and is there any government intervention that's involved with this example that we'll present. So when looking at market failure, the first thing we want to do is find a good and decide if it's either a public good or a private good. And what helps us look at that are two different topics. One is chargeability. So this allows for exclusion. If someone can't get the good because the price is too high, then that's an exclusion, which is usually a private good. Public goods are usually to a point where the public can all use it without it being out of their price, so there is no exclusion. The other thing to look at is exhaustibility, and if the public or private good, we look at if it can be used up. If it's non-exhaustive, so if someone uses the good and the next person in the public who comes to use it, it's not detracted, then it's not exhaustive, which is usually a public good. So for my example, I'm looking at traffic lights. Now with traffic lights, this good is a public good because there's no immediate profitability. We're looking for a profit incentive usually if it's going to be private. And so for a public good, we see that there's no real profitability from someone putting up a traffic light to better traffic, but it does help the public in that they'll be safer on the roads. Well, sometimes, but it's more likely for people to be able to obey the road rules in a better manner. It's non-exhaustive, so if I pull up to a red light and then I go through a green light, the next person that comes to that traffic light isn't going to lose any real profit or any gain, any value from that traffic light. And it is run, depending if you're in an unincorporated zone, it's run by Caltrans in California as an example, but if you're in a city, it's run by the county. A little complicated, but it is a public good that's non-exhaustive, and there's no exclusion because there's no price to a traffic light when you approach it. You don't have to put in a coin for it to work or anything like that. So in closing, when looking at this good, we can see it as a market failure in that no one would really get an economic gain or a profit incentive from putting up a street light other than maybe a little less road rage for themselves. But it is a public good with no profit incentive, so it becomes a market failure because no one's going to put up traffic lights in a private real industry. It's not really going to affect much. So the government, in this sense the county or Caltrans in California, would take over and install the traffic lights, make sure that they're working, make sure if they need to add more, take out some. So it would be a market failure in that there is no profit in it, and the government intervenes to continue to try to make the roads as safe as possible for the public itself.